Hi, I'm Prabodh, and today I'm going to share how challenging yourself can make you a better leader. I came to the United States in fall 2019, and back then, I used to think leadership was something you can learn at a workshop. Boy, was I wrong. Through the course of these 2 years, I learned that leadership isn't something that can be taught, but it can be learned through experience. Now, everyone has different ideas of leadership depending on how they perceive it. According to me, leadership points towards one thing: confidence, and it is indeed the key. If you haven't seen the movie Catch Me If You Can, you should. It's a real story based on Frank Abagnale, who pretends to be a pilot and flies over 250 flights on sheer confidence. You know this phrase, walk into a room like you own it? This man actually did it and convinced everyone. So, where do you get this confidence? You definitely don't have to impersonate a licensed professional for it. It'll work, but it's wrong. The one thing I've found most helpful to boost your confidence is public speaking. Think about it. When was the last time you were nervous about replying to an email? No, right? Worst comes to worst, you Google it and you know what you have to say. But when you have to say the same thing in front of 5+ people, you start doubting yourself. You think, what if I forget something? Or what if there is this, the long pause? That'd be so awkward, right? According to a study, 3 seconds of silence can make the conversation awkward. And this self-doubt is exactly what we need to get over. We see these great leaders, speakers. Do you really think they don't have these doubts before their speeches? Of course they do. But you know what? They don't care because they know even if they forget something or there is an awkward pause, they'll still deliver what they have to say. And this kind of confidence is exactly what we get from public speaking. If you have that, you take a big step towards leadership. In my case, I had none of these qualities 2 years ago. I was shy, way too modest, and a couple of other things, lacking of which would make me unfit to survive on my own. But 3 things happened to me, which were kind of like stepping stones, that made me who I am today. And now when I think back, it is so unbelievable how different things were. My first week in US was nerve-wracking. I didn't even know how to ride the bus or how to shop at Walmart. It's funny, at the beginning I used to think there are only self-checkout counters at Walmart, which just made me even more anxious because I would have to use my Forex card, which, by the way, if you don't know about, is a pain in itself. I had never felt more helpless in my life. And I knew, since I was halfway across the world from my comfort zone, trying to live on my own, I had to make some changes about myself in order to survive. So the first choice I made was I got a job. I was a cashier. It was quite simple. But the most important thing it did was to teach me how to talk to strangers. Now, for someone who avoided talking to strangers as much as he could, it was a big deal. It was the first stepping stone that got me out of my comfort zone, gave me the confidence that I can survive this cultural shock. And that was the beginning of my journey towards leadership. Sadly, it didn't last very long as the pandemic caused everything to shut down. But fortunately, and I'd still thank God for that, I was introduced to Purdue's ACE Campus Food Pantry. After volunteering for 2 months, I got a leadership position as the inventory director, and it was one of the best things that happened to me. It taught me other important skills of leadership: decision-making and responsibility. Being in charge of managing all the food that was coming in the pantry, I had to make a number of decisions based on my intuition and convenience that impacted other people. For example, if we had a donation coming in, my supervisor would ask me for the time of the donation and number of volunteers I would need. In the beginning, it was really awkward for me to make a decision for 5-6 people based on my convenience. It took some unfinished work and self-induced guilt to realize that it was my responsibility to get the job done that gave me the power to make decisions as per my convenience. Now, it might not seem something big enough to have an epiphany about, but these small practical experiences are the ones that end up teaching us a lot. Being able to make these impactful decisions confidently and being responsible for them was the second stepping stone. The third one is a bit tricky. You can say it's a mixture of public speaking, decision-making, and responsibility. So earlier this semester, I was offered the TA position for a course project. For that, I have to host weekly virtual meetings to get everyone's progress and make sure we are sticking to the timeline. The problem with this was being a team member for the same project in previous semester. I knew that students don't speak up unless they're asked a direct question. And many times there would be a long random silence, which apparently everyone except me was okay with. And I would sit there thinking, why isn't anyone talking? Am I the only one who finds this uncomfortable? Now, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I was uncomfortable with it. But you can imagine the first thought that popped in my head when I was asked to be the TA. I was like, I cannot let this happen. To keep it short, it did happen, and I got very uncomfortable in the first meeting. But you know what I realized? If you're willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and literally tackle it head on, the confidence it will bring you is astonishing. Because now I know, no matter who I'm talking to or where I'm talking, I would never get more uncomfortable than I got in the first meeting. And if I can beat that, I should not be scared or uncomfortable talking to anyone. When you think about it, this leadership skill isn't the thing that you only need for your job. You can be a leader of your life. I know it sounds corny, but it's worth trying. Take control over things that affect you, your relationship with people, your fears, your choices. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if it weren't for the choices I made. I like to think I got those amazing opportunities because I chose to get involved. I chose to work on myself. And that's all it takes to make things happen. A choice. And it's always yours. Thank you.